Just last weekend, I coached 11 runners to complete their first ever marathon, the New York City Marathon. None of them had long distance running experience. They all came from across the country and all set out to complete the unknown. Today, I'm going to share 3 lessons that I've learned coaching 11 runners to their first marathon. Let's get into it. The first lesson that I've learned after seeing all 11 of these incredible people complete their first marathons is my marathon training program does really break the norm as to what a normal marathon training plan looks like. Now, let me break that down a little. The squad were all selected back in March of this year and ended up completing the New York City Marathon in November. Realistically, they were built up from running 3 days a week to about 5 to 6 times a week, depending on how the body was handling the training. But realistically, the last 8 weeks of training were really what were the traditional marathon mileage norm that you would see in a training program, averaging around 50 to 70 kilometers. One squad member, though, was responding quite well to the training that I was giving them, so ended up pushing a couple 100-kilometer weeks, which was really exciting to see. This was the challenge set out to me, though, from March. Realistically, I had to train 11 people from zero long-distance running experience to feeling ready and confident to take on their first ever marathon. So a majority of my work before the final 8 weeks of training were realistically ensuring their bodies were able to handle this pretty dramatic increase in training intensity, but also not to get to the starting line feeling like, okay, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. To quickly summarize my program, each squad member had to build up to the marathon distance by completing milestone events that I set up as workshops across the year. So started at 10 kilometers for the Mother's Day Classic in May, Gold Coast Half Marathon in July, Sunshine Coast Half Marathon in August, and then getting to 30 kilometers in Alice Springs in September before heading to the New York City Marathon as their final milestone event. For most of them, they completed either 1 or 2 30-kilometer plus runs. A few of them ended up hitting 32 kilometers, and one of them managed to actually get in one 35-kilometer long run. However, as we know, when it comes to marathon training, if you're coming from zero experience and suddenly being asked to run this much, it takes quite a toll on the body. So this is, again, something that I had to constantly remind myself and look over to ensure that I wasn't burning them out too closely to race day. This was also super evident in their splits on marathon race day. You could actually see, I think for a majority, it was either between the 28 or the 32 kilometer mark where you actually just saw their pace naturally decrease and get slower because their bodies just hadn't been trained to really withstanding the full marathon distance that we all know is such a challenge to take on. As again, the Indigenous Marathon Project isn't quite the normal marathon training program, when it gets to the final 12 kilometers in the marathon, we ask the squad members to rely on their why to get them through. So once they hit the 30-kilometer mark, we know the marathon really starts there. What's going to be that reason that pushes them forward to get to 42.195? And yeah, as I've touched on, well, I haven't really touched on this, but I think one of the key things that I was so excited for going over to New York was that moment, getting to see them all finish it as well. And I managed to see all 11 actually complete what they set out to do. I'm interested. Let me know down in the comments below if you'd be keen to hear more about my coaching side of my running journey, I guess, too. Obviously, training myself to hopefully Boston qualify one day, but also having the privilege to train 11 squad members to run their first ever marathons each year. Second biggest lesson that I took away from this journey was it actually helps having done the exact same thing 2 years ago. It's pretty crazy. In 2023, I completed the exact same program that I'm running now as head coach in 2025. So being able to not exactly relate to some of the experiences squad members were going through this year, but especially when it came to the training and just how much of a toll it would take, being able to say like, yeah, at this point in the journey, I was feeling X, Y, and Z, and I did A, B, and C to just push through. So in a way, it helped me be able to relate to the squad I was training on a bit of a deeper level. But also, a lot of the lessons that I learned back in 2023, I wanted to ensure I had a resolution so the 2025 squad wouldn't have to experience that. So as I always say on my YouTube channel, nutrition has always been something that I'd struggled with. that was a key pillar almost to this marathon build, wanting to ensure squad members were fueling their bodies properly, ready for race day. Second on the list was also ensuring strength training was part of their programs. As we know, strength training complements marathon training very well, and it also helps with minimizing getting injured or having any niggles or setbacks later on in the program. It's pretty crazy too. I had many full circle moments this year supporting the squad members to running their first marathons. You know, seeing them complete each milestone distance, and then to be in Central Park just over a week ago now, seeing 11 medals worn proudly and remembering just how much each individual put into getting to the starting line, and seeing that reward for effort finally paid off, which was pretty cool of a moment. And I'm lost for words. But also, as I was on the plane home reflecting, and I feel like even I too am experiencing some of the post-marathon program blues, even though I didn't run a marathon, just how much they each trusted and respected in my guidance ever since day one. And that was one key goal I had in my mind, was to ensure that, I could do whatever it took to ensure they felt as confident as possible running their first marathon. And I feel like I did that pretty well this year. It's also, as one of the sayings goes, like, if you believe, you're 50% of the way there. And I just wanted to hold that belief for each of them all the way through this year and the journey. The third lesson that I took away from coaching them this year was connection really does matter. Now, I can talk from experience. Obviously, going through the program, the ability to reconnect with your squad over these workshops across the year before heading to New York City really creates quite a different marathon training experience. And I know that there are people out there who may not have the opportunity to be a part of a program like this and end up going out there and training for it solo, but also probably not running the marathon to the best of their abilities. I feel like this is one key precious part to the program that I run, is that connection that almost allows each individual squad member to thrive in their own unique way. Because realistically, they each had each other to share their own ups, downs, lefts and rights across the marathon journey, which we all experience as runners. And I guess just having that space is probably the biggest key piece there that really helps them continue on in this journey, but also to see the vision that I have of them getting to the starting line and running their first marathons. But it was also pretty cool, like across the year, not only did I have my squad all with that really strong connection that grew stronger over the course of the workshops, but also the impact that it had on the wider community. So I talk about the foundation that I work for and all of our running and walking groups seemingly beaming when they get to meet, the squad members as part of the Indigenous Marathon Project, but also pretty cool moment in New York as well. Really cool that the squad members got to meet quite a few of the Australians that also completed the marathon this year, and just seeing that sense of community and being able to, I guess, have a piece of home over halfway across the world was a pretty special thing. And I guess, just having that one connection piece to realize that, okay, if these 11 squad members, all from very different places across the country, all with very different challenges to have gotten to the starting line, can do it, then, so can I. And, it's pretty weird to say that, like, yes, as the coach, I'm kind of the one steering the ship and making all these big decisions, but it's pretty cool and pretty special to see 11 people have such an influence on others. So there we have it, friends. 3 things that I've learned after coaching my first squad to the New York City Marathon this year. A lot of learnings, a lot of lessons that I'll take into 2026 when I start to commence the process all over again for the 2026 squad. But if any of the 2025 squad are watching, again, just wanted to say how proud I am of each of you for what you've achieved out there in such a short amount of time. And thank you again for having trusted me to get it done. Still recovering from the massive trip over back from New York, but with next week over, really keen to delve more into creating some content for the channel. As always, appreciate all of you watching and tuning in to support the channel, and hope all is going well over on your side of the screen. I'm Jack, and I'll see you next time. Catch up.